Set to the side, you'd better run and hide. More to the side, everybody wants to stay alive. Set to the side, you'd better run and hide. More to the side, everybody wants to stay alive.
What is your major malfunction?
Welcome to the ChabDog Sports Talk radio show. Sunday mornings live from 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific. Where spontaneous sports talk, rated R.
Don't make a fuck out of me.
Host Brandon Chabner and producer Eric the Well-Read bring you Brian from Sports Rock.
Say hello to my little friend.
And Tank's West Coast godbrother, Abe Miranda.
See the mess of the true passion of New York.
Plus special guests, music, movie clips, comedy,
So fat, a blood type is ragu.
and always a little politics.
It comes from China.
The live call-in number is 252-585-4120. Join in the fun.
Hello.
And now, here's your host, ChabDog.
Thank you.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of ChabDog Sports Talk. This is your host, Brandon Chabner, here with my co-host, Eric Sove. The name of the show is ChabDog Sports Talk, and today it's the Bye-Bye Miss Georgia Pie show, and talking about things relating to Georgia, including there's a famous baseball player, did you know, named Jack Peach Pie O'Connor? Eric?
Hey, ChabDog.
Yeah. Good to have another Sunday upon us. Great weather here in Southern California, so we can go out and enjoy the world and not wear coats and do a lot of normal Southern California things. And we can talk about what happened yesterday in sports. A lot going on now, and about to go on. We've got the Masters coming up next week, so people are looking forward to that, I guess. You ever been to the Masters? You ever been to Augusta?
I've been to Augusta many times, but never to the Masters. Whoa. And I want to shout out there to everybody. It's a happy Easter, ChabDog. Easter? Happy Easter, everybody.
Yeah, that's right. Have a happy Easter to you. Happy Easter to you and everybody out there that celebrates it. I had my holiday already. I was able to celebrate it with you, Passover. It's kind of nice that Easter and Passover, you're usually happening around the same time, just like Hanukkah and Christmas.
Yes.
And, I guess the Easter Bunny may finally arrive for Gonzaga, though they have a little more work to do. They have to beat the Baylor Bears on Monday.
Well, hold on. I just want to give a shout-out here to all of our new listeners here, the ChabDog Sports Talk radio show. And if you're first time tuning in, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Yes.
And we are, well, as you can hear, it's ChabDog and Eric the Well-Read, and we're joined by guests, Abe Miranda. You have the right to listen to Abe Miranda here on the ChabDog Sports Talk show. Sometimes we get Brian to call in. Sometimes we have the owner of major league teams call in and talk to us. We have all kinds to talk to us. And you can talk to us, too. Make sure you call in on put this into your phone right now, 252-585-4120. That's 252-585-4120. That's the ChabDog Skype line. It'll bring you directly in. And our show, if you're listening to us on a recorded basis, then we're on from 9 to 11 a.m. every Sunday, every day, every week of the year. So be sure to tune in there. And with ChabDog.
Oh, and let me mention our corporate sponsors here. We've got Chabner Law, serving Southern California's transactional and business and estate planning legal needs. And we have ChabDog Sports Talk, ChabDog Sports Blog, for your head of your sports headlines and biting sports commentary. That can be found at chabdog.com and on Facebook by typing in ChabDog. Okay, so
and ChabDog, we got a great show coming up today. We got, of course, we talk the sports. We talk a little bit of politics where it rubs up against sports, where it rubs up against us anyway. And we play some movie clips, and today's clips are going to be Blazing Saddles. You picked a rather provocative clip from that, by the way. I mean, they're dropping N-bombs like nickels, so we're going to have some explaining to do when we get to that, buddy. We got two clips from Howard Cosell. We got To Live and Die in L.A., which was one of my favorite movies and the greatest car chase since The French Connection. We have a clip that fascinates all of our Jewish listeners from The Exorcist. And Ty Cobb. Great clip from the movie Ty Cobb. And then we'll cap it off with a Tank's taste test. He's doing root beer this week.
Rants.
But
Ty Cobb didn't really. We don't have a racist rant from that movie, but we have various. There's some harsh language in that one, but that's the way Ty Cobb was.
Well, he's badass. That was Ty Cobb, played by Tommy Lee Curtis in the 1994 movie, but still, it's Ty Cobb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was pretty close to the way he probably was. He was an angry guy, a great athlete, a great competitor, but he wasn't out there to make friends.
Hey, ChabDog.
Yeah.
You have the right to Abe Miranda, who's just joined the show.
That's right.
Welcome, Abe Miranda.
Good morning, friends. How is my favorite weekend therapist doing?
Oh, we're
my American life coach on Patreon.
I guess, is that Eric or me? I guess, is that Eric? He's more of a therapist, I think, with his soothing voice.
I know, right? Excellent.
Oh, we had some fun this week on Twitter, didn't we?
That's the joke.
Absolutely.
Abe, I need to connect with you on Facebook, so that would help as well. So you can kind of stay inside of my mind there. But I can't find you. You have to friend me.
Okay.
Are you on?
Absolutely.
Are you on Facebook?
Yes, I am. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, the whole thing.
Okay. Well,
that's a great idea. Yes.
Send me a friend request, please.
Yeah. I will. Look for you.
Yeah, and be sure to follow us on ChabDog. There is the Facebook page as well, and on there, ChabDog throughout the week puts up some of the topics that we're going to be discussing, and certainly on Saturday, a lot more of them pop up there. So for those following along and want to see what the show is going to be about, in fact, you even named the show and put it up on Facebook. And tell us what this week's show is called, ChabDog.
Called Bye Bye Miss Georgia Pie.
Mm-hmm.
So you can probably guess what that's referring to, but didn't plan on spending the whole show talking about this. But we are going to just look at that Georgia voting law that everybody's so up in arms about. Gosh, it must be pretty bad if it caused Major League Baseball to actually move its scheduled site for the All-Star game, different state and stadium.
Yeah, and it compels companies, the CEOs of companies like Delta Airlines and Apple, to speak out against a state government, against the action of a state government. It must be something pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and did you look at what Major League Baseball said as kind of the official policy line on why they are justifying what they were doing?
No, I didn't.
My guess is it was about 3 sentences.
It was.
Yeah.
Can you shed some light on that for us?
It's definitely looked like they were scared out of their you-know-whats and made a snap decision that we don't want to be on the wrong side of this. Whatever they think is the wrong side.
It could just have solely be that risk aversion. Because if they do nothing and this thing does pick up some crescendo, then they could be facing boycotts themselves of even holding the game in Atlanta. I mean, there is that angle to it too. So this could be.
But they hold games every day in Atlanta, don't they? I mean, the Braves play there.
Well, as a matter of fact, they do. Yes.
And teams go there all the time. So
to be doing damage control might.
This isn't really changing anything other than it's punishing Atlanta, punishing Georgia for something.
Well, first again, it's back to this law. There must be something in there that's highly egregious and is clearly breaking the ability for African Americans to vote.
Yeah. Do you want to look at that now, or do you want to save that for later?
No. Let's save that for a little later. We've got a good week. We finally got some sports to talk about. Baseball started. In fact, I've got a question.
Abe,
go ahead, ChabDog.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to know if you saw the game last night. It was a great. I think everybody acknowledges that that UCLA Gonzaga game was everything that we could hope for in terms of the excitement factor, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, what an amazing game. I mean, wow. And, to think about how far UCLA has made it to make it to the Final Four is such a challenging thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And for UCLA to really come up and make it there and put up a good fight against Gonzaga. I mean, who really would have? I don't know how many folks have put UCLA Gonzaga in their Final Four. I didn't, but it's always such a good thing to see UCLA. I mean, wow, just come up and just kind of beat the odds and beat all these good teams and almost beat Gonzaga. It was incredible. What an incredible game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost enough to make Eric a college basketball fan again.
I was always a college basketball fan. I never left the room there. But that Jalen Suggs, I mean, he's got the name, if nothing else, and he got the three-pointer at the buzzer. But Jalen, of all people, Jalen freaking Suggs, man. Love the name. Suggs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he sunk the UCLA Bruins with that last shot. But, there was a point in that game and towards the middle of the second half where he picked up his fourth foul and he was on the bench. And so I heard one of the commentators on the radio kind of talking some negative stuff about how he's a really talented guy and he thinks he can take over games because a lot of times he can. But the announcer was saying that in high school he had some bad experiences where he had tried to do too much, and he did. He was involved in a pretty big play before that shot where he a lot of people that saw it thought that he fouled the UCLA center when the UCLA center went up to dunk the ball, but they didn't call a foul, and he basically knocked the ball away and stopped a key basket at the end of the game.
He had some bad experiences in high school.
That's fantastic.
Those guys are fags.
Those guys are
fantastic.
Those guys are fags.
Zags.
Uh-oh. I don't want to get in trouble here. Don't play that too many times.
He's saying Zags, ChabDog.
Those guys are Zags, not.
Those guys are Zags.
It's Zags, Z-A-G.
Zags. Yeah.
I don't even know what a Zag is. Actually the mascot's the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's the
Bulldogs,
yeah.
not the Zags, really.
Yeah, but it's there's zigzags as well, but I think he's referring to Gonzaga.
Yeah,
Zags.
right.
Yes.
Right, so
they say that in Spokane.
Yeah, the point spread. You know what the point spread was in that game?
I'm sure it was far more than justified.
Yeah.
What was the point spread?
And I pointed this out for everybody a couple of nights ago. I said that point spread was a gift from God because it was 14 points.
What?
I mean, that's ridiculous.
14.
14 points. They
You never told me it was 14.
Job with
If
that.
I knew it was 14, I would have taken out a loan. I mean, what? Why didn't you call me?
Well, I put that up on Facebook, but you're not paying attention to Facebook anymore.
Well, they just had your information. Yeah, unfortunately, they had a data breach last night where they apparently we can get Mark Zuckerberg's cell phone number now. It's available.
Oh, well, I was meaning to call him. I'm gonna put together my list of demands.
Yeah, as we went to bed last night, the story broke that Facebook had been hacked. And 30 million, along with 30 million, Mark Zuckerberg's details, those of 30 million people were also hacked, of the United States and many millions more around the world, but 30 million Americans.
Oh, great. So I'm going to start getting even more weird emails and
spam,
Facebook messages.
Yes.
Just what I need.
Yeah, and people are going to take mortgages out on your property and things like that. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking of doing that myself, actually. So that's a great idea. Yeah. It's a scary world we live in, where there's this like undercurrent of crime and fraud and all this bad stuff that could possibly happen to you if you believe the wrong person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was always there. The mob.
Yeah, I know.
organized crime, the family. Yeah, our
in
gangster
an
movies. We love watching our gangster movies that told about our history, all about that. A very violent one too. If you borrowed money from the wrong people or had dealings. I mean, the random things we see today are more unusual. But I mean, there was that horrible mass shooting in Orange the other day. But those people knew each other. I mean, that's horrible, but they knew each other. At least it wasn't random.
Oh, well, I was thinking about what happened in the Capitol recently with the guy that drove his car he drove into a barricade or something and killed a policeman.
Yes, that was random. That wasn't targeted.
Yeah,
that was random.
They did put some stuff up about the guy's background, and he seemed like he might be kind of disgruntled, mad at the government or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, and I don't whether that has anything to do with his religious beliefs or not. Are unclear because there are plenty of people who exercise his religion and don't drive vehicles into the Capitol. He was exhibiting. I read briefly about him, and he was also exhibiting a lot of weird symptoms. Like prior, you could say that like everybody would kind of grew up normal, and he was playing football and having a good time, and then something a couple of years ago snapped. And, his brother was saying he's just never been the same since, and he was exhibiting signs. I'm not a doctor, but he looked like he was exhibiting signs that he was, you'd say, were schizophrenic. So, I think he's...
Schizophrenic, mentally disturbed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he just wasn't seeing things clearly. So, I don't think it's got anything with radicalization. If anyone goes that way or plays the race card or radicalization, I think they're overblowing it. No, they are overblowing it. Yeah, he's a troubled young man.
You better not say he was just having a bad day.
Yeah, that goes for everybody. Yeah, that's not a good way to phrase it.
We just don't know.
We don't know.
And that's why I don't like jumping to conclusions that said that something was racially motivated when you really don't know.
Yeah, that goes for, and a lot of things have taken it that way, or, well, the media has taken it that way. We as Americans, we feel different.
Media will do what the media does.
But I know the truth, and the truth is that we are not systemically racist, and we are not a racist country. I know that. And there aren't people of any race getting beaten down in huge numbers every day, and there aren't whites walking around and muttering either at the top of their lungs or under their breath when they see somebody of a different race or different color or just someone different than them, muttering something derogatory about them. And when these things do occur, they are by far the exception. And when they do occur, people say something for the most part. At least. Yeah, that's the America I know. And anyone suggesting that we're racist and that these things are happening at every encounter are very mistaken. But can we do better?
Yeah.
And are people of other races asking all, not just us, but all, to do better? Sure. And we seem to have we're fixated on it right now. Like we have ADHD as a society or as a media on it, but I don't know. I keep telling myself that's not such a bad thing. If the end result is that we're a little kinder to each other once this all blows over, okay.
Yeah. Well, let's not create things. Let's not make things up and create problems that don't exist.
No, for
create
instance,
reasons for doing things that perpetuate the
You raise a really good point. You raise a really good point here, ChabDog. Do you remember a few weeks ago? There's that lady at the inauguration, the young girl who gave the poetry reading. Do you remember her?
Yeah.
Abe, do you remember her?
I don't remember her name. I'm sorry to say, but
Amanda or Candace. But do you remember she read and she got a lot of positive press for reading that poetry there at the inauguration?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was one of the youngest. I think maybe the youngest person to ever read in that event.
Yes. Oh yeah, and she was brilliant, and it was beautiful. And then she read again at the Super Bowl. Remember at the opening of the Super Bowl, she read then too. And then a few weeks after that, she said that she had been accosted by a doorman at a building somewhere in L.A. And so the doorman, followed her to her door and demanded that she show her the doorman her keys. Do you remember that?
Wow.
I don't remember this part. So
I didn't hear that part. No, I didn't hear that part.
Oh, yeah. No, she came out and made she put out a tweet that was then picked up by the media, which then became this story that she was confronted by a doorman. She claims that she was confronted by a doorman who demanded to see her to tell her where she resided and show him her keys. Yes, and said he was security. And she was obviously very aghast at this. So it's back to things that didn't happen. And that was it. I'll pull the report out. I've got it. But it just went nowhere after that. And no one questioned it. And
she was making it up?
Well, I'm saying the press let us down here because if she was, I'm not saying she's making it up, but she also did not provide details as to the name of the man, who he worked for, whether he was part of the building, what justified him to even approach her in the first place or follow her, as she said. And no one's investigated it. And she said not a peep afterwards. It was 2 weeks after Biden got elected, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes,
like,
it's, the media just sometimes want to just, make a story bigger than what it is or without, finding out the facts and all the details. And, that's the unfortunate part of the media is that they can select what part of the story they want to tell you, and they put that frame around it, and then we get this impression like something tremendous is going on, but then really it may not be factual or it's completely out of context, and that's something where I think we have to learn how to try to get news from multiple sources so that we can try to get somewhat of an idea of what the actual truth is behind the story. And sometimes that goes with reading newspapers and, and looking at other sites and international websites to see how they pick up the story and just to try to get an idea of what's going on. But it's kind of sad that, the media lets us down on that and they don't, ask the right questions. That in that story, it seems like there's a lot of missing information there.
Yeah, the story is going solely on her tweets, actually. So, and there was no follow-up question on her. The media just reported these are what she said, and okay, and then it just died from there. But these were her tweets.
Yeah,
I read them, so it's like, oh, okay, so it's I think her name was Amanda Gorman. And back to making things up. After looking at that, it's like I think something. Her tweets, she was embellishing or making something up here.
You could be sued for slander for that.
Well, if the doorman existed, she's just talking about fictitious doorman here.
Oh.
Well, I'll follow it up and send something to you. Maybe you can post it to the ChabDog site. Just to show that, anyway, just for what it is. Just this young girl, I saw that this is an anomaly. She was presenting such a great presentation, and all of a sudden. Yeah.
It's too bad. It's really too bad that things like that happen, and our heroes kind of get brought down a peg when they do things like that.
Yeah, that's really more like it. That I was really thinking, wow, here's a great young girl, and I still think she's a great young girl, but this is a weird tweet communication like that, where she's clearly, well, I don't know, clearly something's not right there, but. Maybe she should be more concerned about Draymond Green, because you know what Draymond Green is tired of?
He's tired of hearing himself talk? I don't know.
No, he's really tired of seeing WNBA players complain about pay disparity.
Oh, did he say that?
He said that. Abe, can you imagine the nerve he has talking like that?
Well, that's interesting. I wonder why he's even. I guess a reporter asked him again about it.
Yeah, they didn't discuss the interaction it came up in, but he said, and they quoted him, he's really tired of seeing WNBA players complain about pay disparity.
WNBA.
Yeah, he went on to say that they should make it so the owners have to pay them more, which is insinuating get out there and sell the game and promote the game better and make more money for the game, and then you'll get more money.
Since when is that part of free enterprise and capitalism that you make somebody pay somebody something that, and it has nothing to do with the economic value of that employee?
Oh, it's funny you bring it up that way, ChabDog, because you and I know that, and Abe, we all know that in reality, if they were playing communist China, these basketball players wouldn't be getting millions of dollars. They'd be getting a bowl of soup every day, and it'd be expected to play basketball for the country's teams, so it can line the pockets of the party, the highest party members. I don't think the NBA knows that, but we do.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to live in a free market capitalist society where
we did.
People get rewarded based on their value to the organization, and the organization pays based on what it makes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just I don't know how unless the government got involved and started subsidizing the WNBA and giving it more money I don't know how they pay these players compared to what the NBA.
It's my understanding that the league has been running at a loss for a couple of decades, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I hate to be sexist, but it just sounds to me like these cute little women don't know where money comes from. Sorry.
So, is it the players that are complaining, or is it other people that are speaking on their behalf?
Well, it's that too. It's Megan Rapinoe, from the famous our women's soccer, world victorious U.S. women's soccer team. Was on the chat circuit this week, and she got some press discussing this very point as well about the disparity in pay between men and women. And there was the controversy.
Because women's tennis is different. The women's tennis players at the majors, at least, make a lot of money. I think it's pretty much the same as the men, or close.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of interest in that, and people watch it, and that's why. Mm-hmm. But you have to find a sport that shakes out like that, and there are a few of them do, but a lot of them don't, because the quality of the product is just not the same.
Now you mentioned it, the LPGA seems to be able to hold its own and has good-sized purses, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of women play golf, and they like watching the golf, and
and the sponsors.
Yeah, there's a few soccer. I don't know about soccer because I don't know the economics of that,
mm-hmm.
but the quality of the game is closer, I think.
Well, soccer, there you go. It's both men and women, and it's not particularly economically viable here in the United States as a national game. It's viable locally, highly viable in certain markets. But it's not, as we know, it's not a national game or even a regional game, like where it comprises certain large regions of the United States anyway. Locally, it's hugely popular. And at the player level, it's very popular. High school level, it's very popular. Collegiate, very popular. But you can't.
Then, of course, you have women's football.
You can't force people to pay. Oh, yeah, in the lingerie league? They still have that, ChabDog?
Yeah. Remember that?
Uh-huh.
Which we don't really follow that anymore, do we?
I don't think it exists.
I think it failed. They just couldn't make it work, and you could complain about that, too.
Yeah, there we go. It has to be
I
subsidized.
don't know if 2021 that would even survive. Today's world. With all the cancel culture, I think we would have to cancel that one. I'm surprised we haven't canceled Mr. and Mrs. Met yet. You know, we did it to a potato. I don't see why we can't do it to a baseball head.
Mr. and Mrs. Met. It's a terrible concept.
And Metro Met.
What's up with the Mets? They're 0-0. They still haven't played, have they?
No, I don't know, because the Nationals, because they tested positive for COVID, and so the game had to be delayed or canceled, actually, or postponed.
Postponed. Yeah.
Haven't they heard about the vaccine? Get these guys the vaccine, for God's sakes.
The Nationals are COVID sexuals.
I don't think they don't meet they're not essential workers, and they're not over 65 yet. So, you know, they're struggling. They're struggling with the vaccine.
Yeah. You know who else got hit? This is fresh news. The Vancouver Canucks. There are 16 players and 3 coaches are positive right now. The team is, so it's off the calendar for the indefinite future right now.
In Vancouver?
Correct.
The land of lockdowns and extreme precautions?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and they got it anyway.
I can't believe.
Yeah, 16 members. There's 19 people. Everyone. They're assuming everyone's got it there now. So, or the team anyway.
Oiga vault.
The poor Mets. So the Mets are going to play finally. The Mets are going to play tomorrow. They're going to play Philly, and Jacob deGrom is going to start. So, Abe, we know how that's going to go, right?
Well,
deGrom's
sure
going to have
Frank's,
a brilliant game,
all
right?
excited about that, huh? Is he going to crack open a root beer when he watches that game?
I don't know if he's. Yeah, I'm sure he will. It's kind of exciting to see baseball come back and actually be able to actually see some fans in the stadium this year. So I mean, it's such a great. This so much better this year than last year. And I think we're both really excited for just be able to get together and actually watch a game, which I think we're going to be doing later this year. So I will be giving you guys updates. That'll be a ChabDog exclusive as far as when I'll be going to New Jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see the video of that at the game.
Live reports.
Oh, yeah. So we're definitely, I mean, as of right now, we're in the talks for maybe July 4th weekend. And that's mostly because the Mets are going to be playing the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. And I've not been to the new Yankee Stadium yet. So that's a ChabDog exclusive as far as when I be planning to go out to New Jersey. So that's what was in the talks. We were planning to go meet him a little sooner, but he's got that wound pump on his knee, and so I may be uncomfortable for him to be walking around going to different venues and stuff. So that's why we're thinking about 4th of July for right now.
Oh, fantastic! Well, that's exciting. That's gonna be really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, ChabDog, are you on the list yet?
Am I what?
Are you on the list for a shot?
Well, I just I signed up for my first shot next week, so I am going to get that thing going. Mm-hmm. I have to travel to Long Beach, but as long as I don't get lost, I'll make it. I'll get it done.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Good. So I don't know. I never like getting these things, but I'll do it. I don't want to feel sick afterwards. But you haven't done it, Eric, so you don't know what it's like.
No, we're waiting to get an appointment right now. So we're on the list to get an appointment. You're one. You got the appointment. Good for you.
Yeah, I just went online and found it through Walgreens.com.
Oh, Walgreens. Okay.
Yeah, you can do it. I think you can go to these drugstores have things where you can try to sign up online.
Well, I got a 357 phone number I can use to visit the drugstore. So I got a mask, Let's do a hold up for like Woody Allen.
Well, in honor of Tank, do you want to play his taste test?
Yeah, let's play the Tank's taste test. He's doing
Tank,
fizz.
if you're out there, I hope you're listening to this, and you're always welcome to call in. I know you're always busy these days, but feel free to call in.
Fizz. Let's get fizz. Yes, we're going to get fizzy. This is Fizz Rock City Root Beer. It's a specialty beverage. It's made by College Club Beverages out of Rochester, New York. So this is a smaller company, another one of these small craft soda companies. And this is from Rochester, New York, upstate. You know, one time the Sacramento Kings played in Rochester. You know, there were a lot of small city teams, and Rochester Royals, as they were called, actually won the NBA championship in 1951. And the King, and they've been to 4 cities since. They went to Cincinnati, they played in Kansas City, Omaha, now Sacramento, have not been to an NBA final since. I mean, that's kind of, and now with Sacramento, that's the NBA Witness Relocation Program. They send players to Sacramento, nobody knows they're still in the league. I mean, they haven't been to playoffs in so long. I mean, just imagine this, you're being sent to Sacramento. What the fuck is in Sacramento? Who would want to play in Sacramento?
Cows.
Sacramento
it's a cow town.
or Rochester.
Well, Rochester's upstate New York.
Ooh.
Sacramento, you have to deal with California and the capital of California. I mean, I don't understand. And they got a new arena, but it's still like terrible. And the arena's got like a terrible name. One of the worst sponsor names in the league. Golden One Center.
Isn't Kevin Johnson from the Phoenix Suns the mayor of Sacramento?
Yes, he is.
Is that true?
Yes, he is.
I wonder why.
He ran for mayor and won. One time, former Piston was actually mayor of Detroit. Dave Bing. Bing!
Oh, Dave Bing.
You know, every time I hear that name, I feel like I want to go Dave Bing. Bing!
I'm so wasted.
But we'll see how this Rochester soda tastes. This Rochester Fizz Rock City Root Beer taste. Brent.
No, he's trying to unscrew the top.
Boom, boom, boom.
His orange thingamajigger.
Boom.
It's not working.
Well, I do declare this must be one of those. One I needed to get the pull top for.
Keep out like a janitor.
Opening it?
Yeah. Uh-oh, spraying all over the place.
He's spraying himself.
Well, this is a fiasco one.
And now he's still working it. Now he's and he drops in okay, now it's okay. It's all steady.
This better taste good. There's much trouble I had to opening this fucking bottle.
Drops in the straw, and now it's just bubbling all over the place.
Good God, mine!
Oh, no.
It was all calm. He just drops his metal straw and it
Look at this!
bubbles up and goes,
Look at this! It's like running away from me.
It's all over the place.
Look at this! It is actually pretty good. I'm gonna give it. I'll give it an 8.3.
You would have given it higher if it didn't spill. It looked like it was good stuff.
It
sounds
good.
like
8.3.
That's funny.
Yeah.
8.3. Not bad. Not a bad score.
Poor Tank.
Did they show him? He's in his house, sitting in a chair, trying to do all this with the.
No, he's in the office. He's got his pump there. You can see his pump there in all these shots, whether he's at home or not. But in this case, he's in the office, and you're just looking at the office. It looks like they got a bunch of homeless people living there. There's this shit everywhere. It's like think of Sam's place. Yeah. Have you seen it lately, Abe? I mean, I was looking at that shot and thinking, boy, these
something else.
They've let all these homeless people move in with them, or these sports writers are homeless people because there's just shit everywhere.
This is Barstool's office?
Yeah, these are Barstools. There's a girl in the background putting on makeup, and there's like boxes of random stuff and plastic wrap and just stuff you see at homeless, the homeless people have just all over the place. All they need is a shopping cart or two.
Somewhere in New Jersey, around where he lives?
No,
is that right?
They're in Manhattan.
Yeah, the office is in Manhattan.
So what?
Chelsea or Greenwich.
It's interesting that they don't have a nice office. I mean, because he's got all that money, doesn't he?
Oh, they have a really nice office. No, dude, they have a really nice office. They just got slobs working for them.
Oh. It's nice space, but it's not well maintained.
Well, it's very well maintained. It's just the people there have dumped all
I think
their
it's like
shit
a
there.
frat house.
Yeah,
office.
frat house.
You know, imagine an office that's really, really nice, but it's also a frat house.
Yeah.
At the same time.
There you go.
Oh my God!
Perfect analogy.
Wow, it sounds like somebody I know. The dorm room.
Make up your mind, dude. Is he gonna shit or is he gonna kill us? My brother's
gonna shit. Then he's gonna kill us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. You know, I feel kind of bad for their safety guy because that place would be like herding cats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that would
like
be a very difficult. It would be a.
You drop a
difficult
match
job.
and everything goes up in flames there. Probably there's probably papers everywhere.
I'll bet your telephone smells like rotten 7-Up.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't talk.
Yeah, the problem is once the place lights on fire, you wouldn't be able to find a fire extinguisher because they're probably all blocked by boxes. Mm-hmm. So it'd be a mess. I feel like I said, that safety person, whew, they got a tough job. That's for sure. Very tough.
I look forward to seeing this. Maybe I'll go on. Is it on Twitter? Where is the view posted?
It's on YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
Frank Fleming. It's Frank
I'll
Fleming's.
check it out.
Frank's own YouTube page. Frank Fleming on YouTube.
Unfucking believable, eh?
He's got all of his stuff there.
Yeah.
So, do you want to get into the Georgia deal before the break or after the break?
ChabDog. Well, we could get into it now. I don't see why not.
Skinny dip into the waters. So, Abe, yeah, we want three of us here to look at what these points are here. I've got the points up here from...
Eric actually found the description of the law, which it's hard to find. You do like a Google search, and
yeah, it is.
All you can find is, stuff about how bad it is, and
the opposition to it.
People telling you stuff, but they don't actually show you what it is.
Yeah. So this is from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So this is an Atlanta newspaper. And I don't know if you gentlemen have ever read it before. I don't read it frequently, but I have read it infrequently over the years and found it to be a very good source of information in the South and a very unbiased source of information, especially when it comes to racial issues. But then they're not soft when there's stuff going down too either. I think they're very fair. So that being said, this is their summary of the bill, Senate Bill 202, that was approved on March 25th. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points. So here's the summation of what this bill is. And let's assume there isn't anything outside of this that people are objecting to, that these are the points. So, number 1, absentee ballots would be verified based on driver's license numbers or other documentation instead of voter signatures, period.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So does that in any way infringe on anyone's ability to vote of any color?
No. I would say no.
I would say no. Okay.
Fair.
Because that's what everyone's freaking out over. They're saying that this bill is blocking people's access to vote, especially those who are African American. So, okay, so I don't see how that one does it. So, number 2, Ballot drop boxes would only be allowed inside early voting locations and available strictly during business hours.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the post office?
No, well, if a post office is an early voting location. So wherever they hold their early polling locations, the ballot drop boxes will be inside those locations and available only during business hours.
But the idea,
No,
I think, with that is just
because you can mail it in.
Yeah.
You know, you have that option too.
Yeah.
So if you want to physically drop the ballot in a box during business hours, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't, if you let's say you always work night shift, and you can always mail it in.
You can mail
so
it
I
in.
guess you still have a way of submitting your ballot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems a little restrictive. To say that it can only you can't do it 24/7. That you can only do it inside, because obviously, you couldn't get inside a building if it was not office hours. So they're saying, machines or a ballot drop box sitting there open for 24 hours. So they're saying
they want to just protect the. Don't they just want to protect these drop boxes from being tampered with?
Well, I don't want to read too much into what someone's thinking they're doing with it, but that might be a motivation for it. I mean, I'd say that. Despite any good motives for doing it, that's a restrictive thing to do. To say, as opposed to just having. But then a 24-hour open ballot box is a mailbox, from what Abe says, and I agree with that definition. So, because you drop it in a ballot box, you don't get a receipt. I drop it in a mailbox, I also don't get a receipt. And that ballot box and that mailbox are equally secure for transporting that ballot.
Yeah, I think people are generally are less inclined to mess with a mailbox.
Uh-huh.
And that's why you have mailboxes out in the street.
Uh-huh.
We've had that forever.
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't have to pay anything. You could just drop it into this box.
Yeah.
It doesn't need postage, right?
No, that's how I'd have voted by a drop box in the last election, and it was during business hours. Yeah, that's how it is here in California.
Yeah.
There may have been 24-hour locations, but they were few and far between. There were a few of them, but they were hard to find. So we went to one that was open during business hours.
Yeah, I can't see any anti-black, any negative racial motivation, racist motivation for that.
Yeah, Abe, do you see anything there?
The only thing I could see is that the people who work the all-night shift might be speculative be the more poor neighborhoods.
Yes.
The poor working class
mm-hmm.
that would be working let's say the overnight shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so they wouldn't have maybe access to those day boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the only thing I could see with that. However, the other question has to be asked, is this the only way that you can vote? And if it's, this is the ballot box and this is the only way, then I would say that's very restrictive. But if it's no, you can vote in person, you can vote, by mail, you can go to the post office and drop it in a secure location. Paint the picture as, even if you're working the night shift, it's not like you can't vote. You still can vote. There's still avenue for you to do that. And it may just not
do it in
be
the
an official
afternoon.
drop box, but
Uh-huh.
it could be something else.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Okay. Weekend voting would be expanded for general elections, with 2 mandatory Saturdays offered statewide. Counties could also choose to offer early voting on 2 optional Sundays. So this measure seems to be expanding the ways to vote.
Yeah.
You can have early polls here.
Yeah.
With 2 mandatory, so you can have 2 I guess that's saying 2 Saturdays before Election Tuesday. They'll be collecting ballots.
I don't know what there is for Major League Baseball to get upset about that.
I don't see any.
Other than fewer people might be going to baseball games because they're they're doing their voting on Saturday.
And we don't have ballots open in California for 2 Saturdays before Election Tuesday. So this is really expanding the franchise. Abe, do you see anything objectionable about that?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, that one's pretty clear. Okay, nothing bad there. The next one is early voting for runoffs would be reduced to a minimum of 1 week because runoffs would occur 4 weeks after general elections. So early voting for runoffs would be reduced to a minimum of 1 week. So maybe it was longer, apparently.
I guess they're kind of thinking that they don't want early voting to start too soon because they think that people need to have more time to make their decision or something.
I guess so. Be reduced to a minimum of 1 week. Well, I think when they say reduced to a minimum of 1 week, that means there was more time. But early voting.
Yeah, I think there's. I mean, it makes sense. Whatever they have to have enough time to set the runoff election up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a runoff. This isn't a general election. This is a runoff. Runoffs don't happen in federal. This is for probably a lot of state stuff where they're having runoffs.
It might be, too, so that it doesn't become too lengthy of a process. Because, this is a runoff election, so we're still trying to figure out who the candidate is. And so maybe they just don't want these things to go for a long period of time. So they say you got a week. Now, granted, they also said it's 4 weeks just to prepare for the runoff, so it's maybe about 5 weeks after the election that you're voting.
Yeah.
So
you get a week to vote before, and then you have the day to vote. So that doesn't sound unreasonable to me by any stretch anyway. Okay.
Right.
No.
And this is this is just for runoffs.
It's just for runoffs, so this doesn't seem objectionable at all. Okay. The next.
And in 5 weeks you should know who you're. It's only between two people. You should know who you're voting for.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
In 5 weeks.
Yeah. So you got 4 weeks to figure it out, then a week to vote early on it, and then a day to finally vote or not. So okay.
Yes.
Nothing bad there.
Or put it in the ballot box.
Yeah, exactly.
The drop box between business hours.
Okay, the next one here is the deadline to request. The deadline to request an absentee ballot would be set 11 days before Election Day. This is the deadline. So you can request it earlier.
Oh, it's a deadline.
But the deadline to request an absentee ballot. So you can request it, weeks, months before. But the deadline is 11 days before Election Day. Well, yeah, the mail is, you're not going to turn stuff around any sooner than, 11 days is kind of pretty fine if you're inside 11 days, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Got to have some kind of reasonable time period where they cut this off so that they don't be counting votes 2 weeks after the election.
Yeah, they come in late.
Came in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know what we do here, but I think they take I'm not sure what our deadlines are here in California, but I think we have a deadline too.
Oh yeah, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't seem unreasonable to set a deadline and 11 days before the election. Yeah, if you haven't intended to vote absentee by then, then just show up to vote, or do it prior to 11 days. Do it in October. It's not. That doesn't seem like a burdensome thing to do.
Well, hopefully they have the option to just put in a permanent absentee ballot, and at least then you don't even have to worry about the deadline. Mm-hmm. You should just be getting it in the mail every single time.
I think you have to physically request each year. I'm not sure. I've never heard of is there a permanent one available?
I think here in California there is. There's a permanent absentee ballot. You can ask for one in your voter registration, or you can just go in and register for it, and they mail it to you every single time.
Oh, that's
here in California they do, and that's very convenient. Now the nice thing is you don't have to vote by mail. I mean, just because you can still come on Election Day and just vote on Election Day, but you have the option here.
Right. You can't do both.
You can't do both. You can't do both. But if you didn't vote by mail, you can go to the actual poll site and vote.
Okay. Well, it doesn't seem too objectionable there for anybody. It doesn't seem like it's going to affect anybody one way of any race whatsoever. So, next up, and this is one that's getting a lot of press, members of the public would be prohibited from distributing food or water to voters waiting in a line.
Mm-hmm. Can you bring your own water bottle?
Hey, look,
Yep.
I'm sorry that I made you clean the toilets and the bathtubs. I mean, who did all the work in bed?
Yeah, or I could bring a case, a flat of water, and just drop it along the line and walk away. If I'm so concerned about the people in line, couldn't I? Would I be breaking the law there?
Okay. Yeah, as long as as long as the people are not in a line, they can get the food or water some other location right next to the line. I
Or
think.
get this, I could turn around to the guy behind me and say, "Hey, hold my place in line, and I'll go get us both a bottle of water, or a cheese dog, or whatever. Fill in the blank." I mean, is this absurd?
Yeah, it's making something out of nothing, and it's the whole thing is to protect people from being harassed.
Well, you're already not allowed to be solicited, in a lineup for a vote anyway. Yeah, there's rules against solicitation. You're not supposed to be you're prohibited from campaigning to people waiting in line to vote. So
Yeah.
allowing them, the water and food exemption is probably one way that people were exploiting that loophole and using it as a way to solicit people in line, which is already prohibited. I'm in line to vote. I don't want somebody in my face telling me how I should use my vote. It's like, dude, I'm in line to vote. Leave me alone. I made my mind up, or I'm doing it myself. I don't need your input to figure out what I'm doing.
Why is that racial anyway?
Maybe we're misunderstanding something about our African American brothers and sisters and the way they like to consume calories while waiting in long voting lines. And perhaps we're missing something here. It's maybe something really big in the culture there that, and you want to be sensitive to it. And respecting, and here is a point I do need to bring up, is that I don't know why Georgia, of all states, even has long lines to vote. Are you familiar? Abe or ChabDog, maybe you're not familiar with this, but they seem to have extraordinarily long lines when it comes election time that you don't have in neighboring states or really any other state in the country. They'll be lined up for an hour just to get into the polling place. So how about you speed up your process so you don't have to have people waiting in line at all? That's
and don't encourage people to be camping out in a line by bringing them a lot of food and water.
Well, I expect people to be adults and bring what they need necessary, but why does a voter have to be subjected to a 3-hour line to exercise their right to vote?
I don't know.
That is my understanding. That's been happening, but that's been happening under Democratic administrations. That's been happening under Republican administrations. That's a Georgia problem.
Mm-hmm. I mean, do they even have bathrooms here?
Oh, geez, yeah.
What do they have? I feel kind of bad to be stuck on a 3-hour line like this. You know what they should do? They should do it where you go in, you check in, and they send you a text message when it's time for you to line up and vote.
Oh, well, see, Dave.
Like a virtual queue, man. I mean, I know I'm talking common sense here, but,
that's way too much common sense.
You could solve that water problem by setting up a virtual queue. I mean, if Supercuts can do it, don't you think we can do it too?
Restaurants do it too.
I'll be back.
Exactly. I'll be back. Yeah, that's... exactly. And
how many more of these
long
points
enough,
do we have? Because we're coming up on 10 o'clock here.
Yeah, let's cover... In fact, the next one is the one I think is of greatest contention, or at least it has greatest possible for manipulation. Let's cover it after the break instead, though, if that sounds okay.
Okay. All right, so you want to go to the break?
Yeah, we're pretty much... Wow, we're pretty much at that time of the show where we...
All right, well, I'll let you decide what to play, Eric.
Okay.
Whatever.
We have some great clips coming up after a couple of commercials here, so stick around. This is the part where we get another cup of coffee.
Play about the 8 minutes worth. I got to go and get my food and water. Nobody brought me anything.
Get out of this line. We're going to get out of line so we can get some food and water here at the voting station here. But Abe, ChabDog, and I will be back here in a moment. ChabDog Sports Talk Radio Show.
We're told that greatness is exceptional when it should be expected. You choose every day to live your life intentionally, without apology for how bright your light may shine. So go be great. Go be brilliant. Go be you. Go defy life. The Defy Life movement is one that speaks to each of us in its own way. Defy Life gear speaks to us all by reminding us that one size does not fit all. Visit DefyLifeGear.com to get fitted for greatness.
The law office of Brandon S. Chabner, serving clients in Southern California with transactional legal services since 2007. We handle general, corporate, outside counsel type work, drafting and negotiating a wide variety of business and commercial contracts, including non-disclosure agreements, independent contractor agreements, and employment agreements. Our experience includes working with public and private companies and involves a broad range of industries, including healthcare, consumer products, real estate, and high technology. Mr. Chabner has over 20 years of legal experience, having worked for some larger national firms and serving as general counsel for a multi-million-dollar private company here in Southern California before starting his own legal practice. His educational credentials include a law degree from UCLA, where he was on law review, undergraduate degree at Yale, where he graduated magna cum laude, and an MBA from Harvard Business School. Other areas of focus for Chabner Law include press release and business plan editing, pre-litigation matters, and debt and mortgage resolution work. You can contact us at 310-698-0740 and at bchabner@chabnerlaw.com.
Like ChabDog said, he was 100% right.
He can take all comers.
Good afternoon. Wide World of Sports is in the little republic of San Marcos, where we're going to bring you a live, on-the-spot assassination. They're going to kill the president of this lovely Latin American country and replace him with a military dictatorship. And everybody is about as excited and tense as can be. The weather on this Sunday afternoon is perfect, and if you've just joined us, we've seen a series of colorful riots that started with the traditional bombing of the American embassy, a ritual as old as the city itself. Following that, the leader of the labor union, Julio Doaz, was dragged from his home and beaten by an angry mob. It was one of the most exciting spectacles I've ever seen. We'll probably have a videotape replay of that later on. All around, there are colorful flags and hats. And now the moment we've been waiting for is here. Everyone is getting quiet. The president is going to leave his office and walk down the steps of the palace. For that, we're going down on the playing area. Take it away, Howard.
This is tremendous, Don, just tremendous. The atmosphere heavy, uncertain, overtones of ugliness. A reminder in a way of how it was in March of 1964 at Miami Beach, when Clay met Liston for the first time and nobody was certain how it would turn out. The crowd is tense. They've been here since 10 this morning. And I think I see the door beginning to open. El Presidente may be coming out. The door opens. It's he. It's El Presidente. Waving at the crowd. As soon as the flag rings out, he turns. He runs back toward the building. This crowd is going nuts. He's caught in the crossfire of bullets. And down. It's over. It's all over for El Presidente. This reporter is going to get to him, if he can, through this mob for one last word before he expires. As you can see, this crowd is not to be trifled with. They're in a frenzy. They're trying to get over to El Presidente, even as I am trying to do now. Would you people let me through? This is American television. American television, please. Let me through. We're getting through now. Here we are. Here we are. Sir, you've been shot. When did you know it was all over?
Fascist. Dictator.
Well, of course you're upset, and that's understandable under the circumstances. I guess now you'll have to announce your retirement. Well, good luck to you, sir. Good luck to you. And now if you folks will bear with me for a moment, I'm going to try and get in a word with the new dictator of San Marcos. That's assuming I can get through this noisy and demonstrative crowd. I wonder if you people would let me through. I see the general off in the distance. That knows me. Late now. In general, a word from you, if you will, sir, for our viewers.
For many years, I have waited for this day. But now, I am the state.
Sir, I intend that you hate
find the rebels.
The rebel elections off in the hills.
Yes, we'll find them, don't worry.
Good luck to you, sir.
Good evening. Wide World of Sports is here.
With your own eyes, now we're going to have to see what the future brings. Right now, from the little dictatorship of San Marcos in Latin America, let's go back to Jim McLean in our studios in New York.
The Royal Manhattan Hotel for a live on-the-spot telecast of the Fielding Mellish honeymoon night. Mellish and his new bride were married this morning in a civil ceremony in downtown Manhattan. The bride wore the traditional virginal white, as did Mellish. Following that, they had dinner and are both now ready for the consummation of their marriage. The turnout has been gigantic, and here for a play-by-play description is Howard Cosell. Take it away, Howard.
You join us with the action just about to start. Yes, indeed. Here comes the bride. And she's got a lot of fans here. They are tense, but they swell to a tremendous cheer. And as I think is apparent, she is in very good physical condition. And here comes Mellish. Listen to that crowd roar. He is wearing a green corduroy suit, jogging and bobbing down the aisle, buttressed by his trainer and his handlers. Action has started. They approach one another cautiously. Nothing unique about that. Now, Mellish begins to make his moves, and so does Nancy. The two are working together closely, the action growing more rigorous. It is swift, rhythmic, coordinated. What's that? A cut over Mellish's right eye. The doctor comes in to examine the cut. No, it will not be stopped. It continues. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, although you can see for yourselves, I have never seen action like this. That's it. It's over. It's all over. The marriage has been consummated. Nancy and Fielding Mellish, in the most real sense, are now man and wife. And if it's humanly possible, I'm going to break through these fans to talk to the two. Excuse me. Nancy, I know that this is very personal, but was it everything you expected?
Well, Howard, it all went by so fast. I just had no idea that it would be so quick, really. I was expecting a longer bout.
No difficulties of any kind?
Well, as you know, I'm extraordinarily ticklish, so I had a kind of a little rough time there. I couldn't stop laughing, and I just, I thought it would really get in my way, but I really trained well for this, and I think it sort of held me, so there really wasn't any time that I didn't feel in complete control,
How about you, Fielding? I was concerned about that cut. I thought they might stop the action. Did you have that feeling?
Yes, I was, Howard. I thought that I'd have to finish it up quick because I thought the referee might come in and stop it. I knew I was leading at that point, and I was just hoping that they'd let me go all the way, and they did.
No disappointments at all?
Well, I had heard that he would be in great shape, and I felt that he wasn't, that he could use a little seasoning and, sort of timing. The timing was a little off, but I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's not the worst I've had. Not the best, but not the worst.
Are you offended by what Nancy just said, Fielding?
Well, I'm not offended, but I don't agree with it. I mean, I was in great shape. I thought I had her in real trouble with the right hand up early, and I was in good form. My breathing was good. I've been training very hard for this, and I just gave 100%.
When do you anticipate your next bout?
I think we could probably do this again in the late spring.
Any
the
comment?
late spring?
Well, I think I'll be ready by late spring. I'd like...
As long as late spring?
Yes,
I think we should leave the happy couple on that note. It's hard to tell what may happen in the future, but they may live happily ever after. Again, they may not. Be assured of this, though. Wherever the action is, we will be there with ABC's Wide World of Sports to cover it. Now, on behalf of Nancy and Fielding Mellish and all of the others who have made this possible, this is Howard Cosell thanking you for joining us and wishing you a most pleasant trip.
The great Howard Cosell, and we're back.
Yes, and the great Woody Allen. That was quite clever, the Wide World of Sports.
I'm a neurotic nerd who likes to sleep with little girls.
Oh, Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can say that, but until somebody charges him with something and he's convicted, I think we're presumed innocent in this country.
Hey, just like O.J. Simpson, right?
Just like O.J. Simpson.
Abe, did O.J.
That's why
Simpson
we
kill
have
anybody?
Justice system.
Huh? Hey, let's see if what Abe believes. Did O.J. Simpson murder anybody?
No.
As far as the law,
I put all my faith in the justice system, and the justice system says that those gloves didn't fit. Damn it, those gloves didn't fit.
Yep. It was all planted by the LAPD.
I mean,
yeah.
The LAPD, you know, I mean, the way that they handled the case, and I'm sure there was a lot of lessons learned after that as far as how to handle evidence and, you know, not to taint the scene and, you know, just not get too, you know, crazy with everything. And
yeah.
what a mess that trial was. And wow.
And the brilliant lawyering there, and being able to tie in all the pent up frustration with the LAPD vis-a-vis people of color who were 8 members of the jury, a real jury of O.J. Simpson's peers. You know, it's funny. I would speculate that had it been a white jury in Santa Monica, which he would be amongst his peers, that they probably would have found him guilty.
Maybe so.
Purely speculate.
You know, very likely. You know, it could have.
But Gil Garcetti, the district attorney, who was up for re-election, moved it over to his area in L.A. so he could use it for brownie points for getting elected. I guess it worked.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they also had, you know, a lot of good publicity on the Ford Bronco too.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's a good runaway car.
It saved the brand.
Get a Ford Bronco.
No, really, it saved the brand. Like Ford was contemplating.
I
getting
do
rid of
remember
Bronco.
that. Yeah, I think everybody pretty much remembers where they were when they were watching that on TV.
Yeah, it was our Kennedy assassination moment.
Yeah, I remember I was at home watching it on the news, and you know, I lived in La Crescenta at the time, and I wasn't that far away from the 210 freeway.
Oh yeah.
And I remember OJ's Bronco going on the 210 freeway headed towards Sunland, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" You know, you could kind of maybe hear the helicopters, and you're like, "Cool, he's going for it."
I was on my
down
lunch
the
break
street with banners.
Business school, the Aubampan. On campus, we're all sitting there watching this thing on TV. It must have been probably 4 o'clock in California. No, you guys are behind us, so it's probably 10 o'clock in California. I mean, it's probably early morning or maybe midday.
What? This is like 4 or 5.
When was the Bronco chase going on?
It was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Here.
Yeah.
It was in the afternoon?
Yeah, we were here.
Okay, so maybe I was eating dinner. I was in on the East Coast. This was wasn't this like 1995?
Yeah, but so it would have been 7 p.m. for you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure I was in a restaurant.
Okay.
Watching this on TV
in
disbelief.
Uh-huh. It was just
so,
mind-blowing.
Yeah. It was amazing, and I kind of wondering if Ford was going to do a new commercial for like Super Bowl or something funny with the new Bronco that was coming out, you know, to reminisce on the OJ thing. But like with a new Bronco that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's been a long time since the new Ford Bronco came out, and I think it just came out for 2020 or this year.
Yes, they got the new Bronco out, and there was some suggestion they were going to do a tie-in with OJ, but I guess they tested it, and the woke gave it a thumbs down.
It wasn't much appreciated.
Bullshit. No.
Don't talk to me, all right?
Yeah, that's what the response they got back. They suggested doing an OJ.
Broncos.
Yeah, and
the word Bronco isn't banned from our language.
Here's one of the people they were testing it. This is what they said.
Don't talk to me, all right?
After seeing OJ tie-in. Yeah, they didn't like it.
So, Eric, did you finish?
No, you don't hate it. I know you don't.
Yeah, people are getting mental over it.
Did you finish the list of the voting rules?
Let's get on it here. Okay. So the next one is 3 left here. Okay,
let's whip through these.
Here's the one that requires the most consideration here. The state election board could remove county election boards and replace them with an interim elections manager. Yeah, what does that mean? The state election board. So who is the state election board?
Could.
Remove.
So what is the? I guess does it say under what circumstances?
It doesn't at this descriptive level, but I mean, obviously they couldn't act for any reason, but they'd have to have cause.
And what is that person? What would his authority be or her authority be?
Well, the same authority that an election board, the state election board, would remove the county election board.
I don't even really know, but
and replace them with an interim elections manager that would have to still follow how that works. But okay, could that mean can a county election board, as it stands right now, overturn the vote of its electorate?
I don't see how.
I don't believe that today, just as it stands, a county election board could say, okay, all these people voted for X, but we're overturning that and submitting it for Y. I mean,
the county is subservient to the state. I mean, it's just at a lower level of authority.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to see if the state election board could, for any reason, remove the county election board and replace it with an interim elections manager, and the interim elections manager had the ability to overturn the result of that county election in favor for a different candidate, then this would be very alarming, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see that,
but I don't believe that authority exists right now with the county election board. I don't believe any election board can overturn the result that arises in any event. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't think that was what was the problem, the big problem. But maybe I don't know. Maybe you know better than I do, but.
I only know what my eyes are telling me reading this. Abe, do you have any input as to what, or a sense of what this means?
Well, I don't know if that's something that is just in Georgia, or if there are other states that allow an interim manager to come in, and it may be it could be because something bad with the election board. So let's say there was, some air of corruption or something on the board. It would give the state the ability to, say, okay, these guys are in a world of controversy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just put an interim manager there until we get that resolved. I mean, it could be that.
Could be that.
It could be, again, does that change the votes? It shouldn't. change the votes unless there's some sort of problem within that county as far as fraud or election fraud, then it may go into maybe why they need to have a manager there. So, you know, it may not necessarily be there as put there as because ill intention. You know, I think automatically you want to assume that everything that Georgia does is bad and is riddled with controversy, but it could just be something of there's something wrong with the board and they need to put somebody there to make sure that it isn't, you know, take the problem out.
Okay, so I'm going to ask that, and as a reasoned person, that's a reasoned response that you just gave there. But I'm going to ask the three of you to put, put your Obama hat on because he objects to these changes. And what does he see in that, or what does somebody who strongly objects to this see in that? And how could this be? How could this be twisted in a way that it does block someone's franchise, their ability to vote? And I'll read it again. The state election board could remove county election boards and replace them with an interim elections manager. So I look at that and say, okay, let's say there's a county election board and they're all African Americans, and the state election board are all white, and the all white people have a grudge against these all black group. I'm just saying, so taking it to the extreme, and they remove this election board and put some white people in there to then oversee the election of this entire black county that they're in, and then what? And they overturn the result of this voting, the black county, and have them all vote for this white candidate they want. I mean, only if that could happen, that would be. But am I missing? Is there something else that could happen? I mean, my fellow conspiracy theorists here with their conspiracy theorist hats on, is there any other way that we can misread this to be something really negative?
Just
That sounds
speculate.
like a good argument. Maybe.
So I don't see much there either.
I don't see anything there. I mean, that's the only one that was objectionable in this list that I saw.
What about isn't there something about presenting ID?
That was the first one we covered.
Oh.
It was simply
you have to present ID when you vote. One of the rules now?
No, that wasn't there. It was simply on absentee ballot, put down your driver's license or some other voter ID on there instead of your signature.
All right, so you went through all the points.
Two more.
Are we done now with this?
There's two more.
Two more.
The last two. So the next one is a hotline to report illegal election activities would be set up in the Attorney General's office. So a hotline. So that's highly objectionable.
Hotline.
Yeah, hotline. Okay.
Like the coronavirus hotline?
Like the bat phone.
Like the Corona beer hotline?
Yeah, and Tony Romo will answer it.
Everybody thinks that's so great, so what's so bad about this?
Yeah. That's clearly blocking people's ability to vote. Okay, that's absurd. Okay, and the last one. Counties would be required to certify election results within 6 days instead of the 10 days currently allowed. Election workers would also be required to count ballots without stopping until they're finished. Period.
Okay. I guess that I'm not so sure I like that because it seems like people get tired and may need breaks, but I guess you just have shifts of people doing it, so you always that's probably what they mean, right?
Well, that they finish. Obviously, one person's not counting every single ballot, but they're allotted a block of ballots to count. They count that block until they don't stop and then take a break and come back.
I think that may be the thing that they like the least, the people that are upset because they want a break so that I mean, to me it's like the whole break thing was suspicious. I mean, when Trump was ahead and then they took this break, quote unquote, and kicked everybody out and then magically he's behind. Like what the hell happened? That to me shouldn't be going on.
A rule like this would avoid such future controversy, of taking breaks. It's like, no, you keep counting. Yeah, exactly. They took a break and they didn't count anything for 8 hours and then they started again. Yeah, they need to be counted continuously, yes, and people take shifts to do it. There can't be this nonsense of, they stop for 8 hours and don't count a thing. I don't see how changing this rule here is going to disenfranchise anybody. But I'll ask you, Abe. Am I missing something here?
No, I mean this goes down to. I mean, I think at the end of the day, when people are making these decisions to pull out of Atlanta for things, it may just be that one thing. I don't think that this point really, aside from some folks not getting a break inside the poll and inside the polling places, but that doesn't change the vote. That doesn't disenfranchise minorities. That I don't see anything there. I think they put it in place to eliminate, like ChabDog said, there was a lot of controversy in the presidential election.
Mm-hmm.
And so this may be just a way to resolve that issue that I think Republicans are having a hard time with, probably more than the liberal side or the progressive side. So I think I don't think there's any controversy here. I think it's just, you count the votes. Don't take these long breaks. When you're in the middle of counting, keep counting, finish out that block of votes, and then take your break or then move on. But, the problem is these things have become so scrutinized that, you need to keep those polling places open 24 hours, and you should have a shift of votes. You should do this in shifts and give people their breaks but have it in shifts, and you just keep counting, keep doing your thing. Wait 5 days to find out who won a certain district.
Yeah, that's too long. Okay, so those there it is. There it is in a nutshell. So we three reasoned people, with an eye to look for controversy and look for a problem, just examined all of the bill, the law, and found nothing egregious to it and nothing that would constitute blocking people's access, especially African Americans, from the polls. And yet, major corporate titans are taking actions and saying these actions are because of the egregious changes here that block people's, especially African Americans, access to vote. Those two things don't match, gentlemen. How do we explain that?
And just to be clear, the water and food issue is that they can't distribute it to you while you're standing in line.
Correct.
But not necessarily that you can't bring your own bottle of water and line up.
You can bring a gas grill and operate it in line. They're not prohibiting you from doing any individual from doing anything they want. They're just prohibiting people from walking up, soliciting people in line and giving them water.
Right. And not to say they don't have water at the polling spot and you can just go and get it yourself. They just can't distribute it to you while you're in line. And it may be, again, because of what you had mentioned before, people, trying to convince you to vote for these folks.
Oh, yeah. I'm standing in line, and then my boss, somebody from my company, comes up and starts handing out water, and they're watching me. And I may want to vote differently than what I know they want me to vote. That's a lot of pressure, man. I shouldn't have to be subjected to that.
I would be confident in wagering that throughout our history, the dangers of people being registered to vote illegally and voting twice, and the threat of illegitimate votes actually being counted that when they shouldn't have been counted is much higher than people being denied the right to vote when they were legally allowed to vote. And all you have to do is read through the history books to find situations where ridiculous things were done and laws were not enforced, and it had an effect on our elections. So I'm just reading what happened in 1844. It says here that the big city Democrats fraudulently registered thousands of immigrant voters to stuff the ballot box for James Polk. And on the Mississippi, a steamboat ship carried Polk voters along the river so they could cast ballots at different standings. And this influenced the when he beat Henry Clay in a close election by 39,000 votes. I wager I kind of bet that may have thrown the election.
Maybe. Mm-hmm.
But we have a lot
scandalous.
to fear in terms of our elections being turned into the sanctity of the individual's vote being degraded by votes that never should have been cast.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all
no
afraid of
disrespect
restricting
to the
voting,
Orientals.
but
No disrespect to the.
No disrespect.
It's not that sexy of an argument. Everybody wants to be seen as promoting voting rights here.
Yeah, but the heads of these corporations, I mean, they're smart people. Like, they read things. They just don't react from sound bites because it was said so, because of all the news articles that aren't saying what the actual problem is, which we just went through.
Nobody wants to be boycotted or labeled as racist. So everybody's trying to cover their ass.
Yeah, exactly. And and that's the thing with the driver license and the IDs. And the reality is, yes, there's a very small percentage of folks who don't have their ID or they don't have a driver's license to vote. But again, it goes to, you should have a state ID to vote. It's part of accountability. It's to say, we're trying to do everything on an even playing field, and if you don't have any ID to show that you live in this county, that you live in this city, that you have nothing to show that you live in this district. And that's what getting your ID is for. And I think that maybe they should do more to help the folks who don't have an ID get an ID than to change the election laws.
Yes.
I mean, what's the problem here? The problem is you got a very small percentage of people, which is the outliers,
yes,
who don't have an ID.
Yes.
Well, help these people.
Yeah, but that percentage is growing because they're letting people into this country and releasing them into this country with no ID.
Well,
and we have a lot of people that may be voting in the next election if there are no restrictions.
But presuming these people are not voting.
So now we got these laws that say, look, you need to show an ID or a driver's license. It doesn't matter. It doesn't say you need to show a driver's license. You can have a state ID. So it doesn't discriminate against people who can't drive because it's state ID is good enough. And again, it's accountability. I don't think it's a bad law. It's accountability to show you do live in the state, you do live where you say you live.
Mm-hmm.
And if we just take a signature, anybody, I could go to Georgia and sign a document and vote. And I don't even live in Georgia. I live in California. So, we got to be accountable to, be fair to our election process and make sure that the people that are voting, are the right people who are voting. And I don't think on each side of the table, be it you be conservative or you be liberal, you're against a fair voting process. And if you want to fly on an airplane, you have to present some sort of ID.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a racist thing to do? No. If you want to board, do other events, you have to show an ID. It doesn't
it's
mean
public
that,
safety.
Yeah, you want to get prescription medication, you've got to show ID.
Look, this is what Major League Baseball said when they justified this. They said, Major League Baseball fundamentally supports voting rights for all Americans and opposes restrictions in the ballot box. So that's a pretty broad statement and leaves a lot of room for interpretation, but it seems to say that they oppose any restrictions.
Any restrictions, yeah. They oppose anything.
Yeah,
they oppose any change whatsoever to the
ridiculous.
existing voting law. They're not saying they want to tear down the existing voting law.
Ridiculous.
But they object to any change whatsoever. And so does Coca-Cola, and so does Delta Airlines. and so does Microsoft and Apple and Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I
So
don't know
do
about
they-
you, but I'm not watching this All-Star game.
Well, it turns me a little bit off
I
of
don't- I
baseball.
don't need-
I mean, why is
I don't
baseball
need to
jumping
watch
into this? Why? Okay, here's another question for you, gentlemen, because I don't understand this. Why corporations in my lifetime, and I think through the history of our nation, have never interfered with the running of a state government or politics. They just stay out of this stuff because they're regulated by
they
these
can.
bodies here, so they usually steer well clear of it. Why are corporations suddenly jumping into steering political discussions?
Wow. You know what? It's the signs of the times. You know, I think it's just this is what, you know, the last couple of years have created, where, you know, you have to pick a side, and that's it. And they don't, you know, they're not looking at the facts. They're running on emotion, and I think a lot of people are running on emotion, especially the last couple of years. There's so many bad things have happened, but yet, you know, you got to keep it. We still have to make some reasonable decisions and reasonable elections, and we still need to be accountable and fair to everybody. And so I don't know why they have to, you know,
Yeah.
it's very oppressive and terrible. But
ChabDog, here's a question for a lawyer. Is a corporation the same as a person in a legal sense?
Not exactly. No, there's differences in terms of like criminal liability and
Okay, here's another question. Can a
I
corporation...
don't know. That's a tough. They can't, obviously they can't vote.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have certain rights that the the Constitution gives all sorts of rights to individuals.
Yes.
Not to corporations.
No. Yeah, a corporation's not a person in that sense, and yet we're letting corporations talk like they have the right to vote, which they don't. And we're giving them the right to mouth off and sway
Well, they have
people who do have the right to
They
vote.
have the right to make official statements.
Uh-huh.
Does a corporation have a right of free speech? That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that would be a good law review article.
Yeah, you would assume so, but then you look at a case like this and say, this isn't for the public good. Corporations taking one side and then railroading the truth.
Well, and remember, baseball is supposed to be a public good, isn't it? Because that's why it's not subject to monopoly rules, and it has, you know what I mean? It's got...
Yeah, they enjoy
it's
antitrust protections that would otherwise shut them down because they operate as a trust.
Considered a public good.
Correct. Legally. All the sports franchises are. They all run into that exemption.
Mm-hmm. It's also maybe too the corporations trying to, you know, they want to play that card where they want to make everybody happy, and you know, it's maybe they just want to make their base happy. You know, maybe the people, they don't want to make the folks who are against all the Georgia new laws, they want to make them happy by saying, well, we agree with you. And then at the same time, I don't know what's going on in the other side of folks that they're like, we're not really going to support this. And I think that's the problem is, you're right. I think maybe they did exclude one side. You know, they really did exclude the side that's pushing for these reforms. And so I think that's a bad position for a corporation to take a side, because you're going to lose some of that business from the folks that are for it. So maybe you're right. But, you know, corporations should really maybe consider what steps they take politically.
Well, obviously they're not. They're breaking the barrier. They should, and they have up until now historically. Now they're breaking the boundaries. So now the question arises, should we allow them to break the boundaries, or should we put them back in the boundaries that they respected up until now? and say there's certain political speech that's prohibited.
I don't know. I wonder if this is some kind of breach of contract here, but on Major League Baseball's part. But I'm not going to get into that. It just seems like they went back on their word, and they lost a lot of credibility in my mind.
Well, that horse already left the barn when they let the Dodgers, the Houston assholes, win.
Oh, well, yeah. I wanted to get into the you want to talk about the title of the show and the interesting problem that Ty Cobb had with Jack O'Connor, who was called. This was back in the heyday of Ty Cobb when he was fighting for the batting title, and the Browns had a manager who was named Jack O'Connor, who was a real rabble rouser. His name was Jack Peach Pie O'Connor. I think he was from St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he had a feud with Ty Cobb, who was called the Georgia Peach. It's kind of interesting. And a big controversy occurred in the batting title race with Ty Cobb took the, he kind of did the wimpy thing and sat out the last 2 days because he wanted to win the batting title. He was fighting it out with another player, Nap LaJoy. And LaJoy was playing the last 2 games against Jack O'Connor's team, the Browns, the Indians, and or the Browns. And Jack O'Connor was the coach, the manager, and he purposely put the rumor is that people suspected that he connived to try to get LaJoy to catch Ty Cobb for the batting title by telling his third baseman to play near the outfield. So LaJoy went 8 for 8 in terms of bunt hits.
Mm-hmm.
And Cobb went ballistic, and Major League Baseball never forgave Jack Peach Pie O'Connor for that scandalous move, which almost cost Cobb the batting title. They ended up giving Cobb the batting title by like percentage points, and they both won a car out of it.
Car.
But it was a big scandal.
Playoffs?
And we got a Ty Cobb clip, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yeah, here's a little montage here from 1994.
You should have thrown in my head. You should have tried to kill me.
Is that right? I hear you're from Georgia, where the men are men and the sheep are nervous.
Back up on that hill, rag on. I want to steal third on you, young man. I'm coming down there.
He's stealing a base right now. Dramatic music playing. Fighting at second base. Oh, he punches him.
Hey, you want in on the action? My grandmother feels better than that. Coming down there to kick your dago ass. Come on!
I should have stuck in that bastard's ear when I had a chance.
Stealing another base here. Oh! He comes in legs high. Puts the catcher down with his foot. He made the replacement. Now we're having a good old-fashioned Donnybrook.
In those days, you didn't hold hands and dance with the men on the other teams. They were the enemy, and you fought with them. And I was the most hated man in baseball. You know what it's like to be booed like that? It feels wonderful. They couldn't live without me. They came to the ballpark to see me. 50,000 fans trying to kill me everywhere I went. I had so many death threats that one time the cops had to patrol the outfield in the stands looking for snipers. I loved it.
Hey, Tom, you stay out of my name.
Only great men are booed stuff. Captains of industry, presidents, I knew them all. It was a fact in those days that Woodrow Wilson had the best scotch and used to invite me to the White House to try it out.
Capital man.
It was also a fact that Warren Harding had the best broads and threw the best damn parties, and I can tell you right now that Calvin Coolidge and that stupid cat of his weren't any damn fun at all. After World War II, General George Patton himself asked me for my autograph, said he patterned himself after me. You getting all this? Oh, I'll remember. Well, how come you don't write it down?
Yeah, it was a great clip.
Yeah. So the ironic thing was that Coca-Cola was a big favorite investment of Ty Cobb's. He had a lot of Coca-Cola stock. He'd drive around with stock certificates stuffed in a box in his car, and got rich off of Coca-Cola. He was known as a huge racist.
Yes.
And I don't know if Coke's ever really acknowledged any of that, and they're probably sensitive to not being perceived in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's maybe one of the reasons they got behind this push to move the All-Star game.
So they're motivated.
Yeah, they're trying to make up for past transgressions, I guess.
Yes.
Or past associations with Ty Cobb, and it's not their fault. He bought their stock, but I think he may have been buddy with the management there.
But isn't that the explanation for the entire Democratic Party? That they're guilty for their association with slavery, that they were the party of slavery, and that ever since
they never want to talk about that. Nobody ever wants to talk about that.
Well, they don't. They let their policy speak for them.
But yeah, until the 1800s, they were the party that was the party dominating the South. They were fighting to keep slavery for a long time.
Yes, that is correct.
And then they were the party that was allowing a lot of the problems with Reconstruction and the rise of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yes.
Woodrow Wilson was a huge admirer of he admired the Ku Klux Klan.
That's a dark but true part of history, yes. And ever since the Democratic Party, well, since Johnson, really, it's decided to turn a new leaf.
Yeah.
And
let's not pretend that one party is virtuous and another party isn't. There's bad things in both parties, and we have to accept that.
Correct. But that's just interesting, the transformation of the Democratic Party. And I've always felt in my heart that what's motivating them is to try and right the wrongs from 100 years ago. And from that, you get things like Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood, which is an abortion center for black babies. And you get things like the Great Society, where you're trying to uplift people out of poverty by just paying them generously and breaking up neighborhoods and families. I mean, the results, I'm sure they were unintended, but you think after 40, 50 years, we could look at the results and say, maybe we should do things a little differently. But these policies are still being pushed as to somehow maybe they'll work now. They didn't work before, but maybe they'll work now. But in any event, the motivation for it, I always felt in the Democratic Party was, they won't overtly admit it. They can't. Who wants to remember that memory? But they're motivated to try and do better. And that's noble in one sense.
Mm-hmm. We should always try to do better.
Yeah, and I call to that nobility. And I look across the aisle and I see myself sometimes standing there too, because I agree with a lot of things the Democratic Party stands for. Excuse me, Democratic Party stands for and pushes. Because a lot of it's good stuff. But that part, just can we just find better solutions for your progressive ideas?
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're now we got 10 minutes left, so we're into the last 2 minutes of the regulation here, so to speak. What did we leave undiscussed?
Well, we got a few things here. We got Kevin Durant was in the news this week.
Did you hear about this, Abe? You want to play it?
Yeah, go ahead and expand on it a little bit. I heard a little bit, but...
Well,
I
guess
Michael Rappaport,
who's never at a loss for words, had a heated exchange with Kevin Durant on social media or something, and Durant sent him some kind of messages with a derogatory. Were they gay bashing or
I listened to Michael
comments
Rappaport
about
read.
homosexuals?
Yeah, he was DMing Michael Rappaport, and Michael Rappaport read the DMs and posted them. And he was in several instances called a cock. He called him a cocksucker.
I'm sorry, but that's not necessarily gay slurs. That's profanity, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was locker room or schoolboy banter. Like they were just talking shit back and forth, and he was.
I mean, why does Michael Rappaport have to do something like that? Why does he have to try to be a tattletale? And I mean, this was obviously a private conversation between two people, and wasn't it?
Well, but then he started saying he wanted to come to his house and spit, and he's going to spit in his face, and then he started saying derogatory things about Rappaport's wife and how he was going to do, some kind of harm to her, and Rappaport took exception.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah,
he said that?
Yeah, so Rappaport took exception to that. That you kind of crossed the line here. Like, I BS with a lot of friends, DM them back and forth, and we get into heated discussions, but we don't. None of my friends ever say they're going to come spit in my face and mess with my wife. So, dude crossed the line there.
I mean, it was a stupid thing for Durant to do, but I don't know how much sympathy I have for Michael Rappaport. You could play any number of rants that he's engaged in.
Well, let me just play a few seconds of him just to remind the audience what he sounds like.
Broad Street bullies, you're fucking done in Philadelphia. You're done. Pack your fucking shit. You got a bunch of fucking flunkies around you. Get your fucking stupid sons, your dumb fucking daughter, your fucking mute fucking blowjob, Jared fucking Kushner fucking son-in-law. Get the fucking tape, get the boxes, and pack your fucking shit. Pack it now. Go the fuck away. 4 years of this fucking nonsense, you fucking blowjob. Get the fucking trucks. It's time, asshole. We can count, we can recount. Let's do it 3 fucking times. We'll triple check it. So.
Yeah, so I don't have much sympathy for him either. I mean, he's a real shit talking. Is that a Queen's accent? I think that's a Queen's.
That was laced with expletives, wasn't it?
Oh, very personal profanities. Yeah, attacking the president and his family, the former president and his family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I enjoyed watching Copland, watching Michael Rappaport go down in that movie.
Yeah, that's that was interesting.
Do we have a clip from that where he's getting? There's a clip where he's getting drowned by Ray Liotta.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. You sent it on a group chat. I don't have it up this morning.
Oh, too bad. That's a great clip. He's called Superboy in that movie. Mm-hmm. He meets a tragic end.
And we got another piece of news here. Oh, go ahead, Abe.
He's a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Exactly.
Yeah, just don't call him a cocksucker, okay?
That's like a white boy trying to be more than me.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to be, the Ashkenazi.
He kind of seems like that reminds me of that rapper Eminem, the white guy that pretended to be black.
Yeah. From Michigan.
Doesn't he?
Go back to Michigan, asswipe.
So we got one more.
I know Rappaport, Slim Shady.
Slim Shady, yes.
I broke my back.
I know Frank doesn't like him, does he?
Oh, hell no. Oh, of course not. I think especially since there was that beef between him and Barstool.
Oh, yeah.
When they split up, and Frank's a big company guy. I mean, he loves his staff, he loves his management. So anybody who goes against Barstool, he usually just puts gasoline on that fire.
Oh, that's a declaration of war, right? That's like an open declaration.
Yeah. It usually doesn't end good.
Yeah,
well, that was a fight between Portnoy and Rappaport. Is that right?
Well, and he was they had an agreement where Rappaport was going to provide content to Barstool, and it worked for a little while. And part of the content was they were staging events and having gladiator style fights in groups and teams and such. And Rappaport was participating, and then he just, from my clouded memory of it a couple of years ago, Rappaport started to puss out on the stuff and not agree to contractual terms for things he was supposed to do, and then started talking shit about it. So then this became a shit war back and forth.
Yeah.
But clearly, to me, it was Rappaport failing to fulfill things that he agreed to do that he was more than capable of doing, by the way. So it's like, I could see who the dick was in the room, and it wasn't Barstool.
Right.
Spinal.
So, but it just disappeared. Nobody got the last laugh there. It just disappeared.
Tell me how my ass tastes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Barstool's better for not having to deal with him going forward. He can figure out how he wants to become famous. I guess it's by putting YouTube videos together that are like what we just played.
Oh, he does all kinds of things. He does that. He does the Michael Rappaport podcast, I Am Rappaport. In fact, it's got a paywall on it. You got to pay $3 a month to get all the content. But he's apparently making money out of that. He's got stuff running on Netflix series that he's recurrent characters in. So he's got a lot. Yeah, he's got a huge following on Twitter. He's got a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, I like Copland. That was a pretty entertaining movie. You seen that? You seen that movie, Abe?
It's been a while, but I have seen it.
Stallone.
It's a good New Jersey movie, isn't it? It's about New Jersey, I think. Got a lot of good actors. Sylvester Stallone's in it.
Yeah, Stallone.
Ray Liotta. Robert Patrick.
I think
Robert
even
Patrick, the guy that played
a few cameos in that, don't they?
Who?
A Corvette. Some Corvettes in that movie. Oh, no.
Corvettes.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Corvette.
Yeah, I think they had like some. Did one of the characters drive a Corvette?
Yeah, I can picture a yellow one. There's a yellow one in that movie, I believe. A C3.
Huh? Uh-huh.
Yeah, fat 70s version. I like those. But yeah, that's Abe's a Corvette guy.
Oh, okay. So you're a little dated with that, Abe.
A little bit. I mean, it's a '90s movie, and yeah, it's there.
My method's all right. Well, you guys gonna watch the finals on Monday? Gonna see Gonzaga finally get it done?
Yes. Yes. I don't know. I mean, I had picked Baylor, and that's the only part of my bracket that's still kind of alive. I had Baylor in the Final Four, but we'll see. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game, and I think Gonzaga had a lot of tough teams that they had to beat to get to where they have, where I think Baylor may not have had it as hard. So it's I mean, Baylor had it hard, but Gonzaga had to beat some tough teams, especially that UCLA team. Wow.
Yeah, Gonzaga. They got 5 or 6 really good players. I didn't realize how they're more deep than I thought. They got this tall guy named Timmy, who his name is Timmy, and it makes me think of that Exorcist clip. The Exorcist, the Reagan is freaking the priest out, calling him, pretending to be his mother, and I guess the priest's name was Timmy.
Timmy.
She says Dimmy in the clip. You have that clip?
I do, actually. We'll go into extended time to hear this one. Yeah, since in honor of Easter.
Yeah.
Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Put some madness.
Snoring is horrible.
Dimmy, why you do this to me? Please, Dimmy. I'm afraid.
It's freaky, man.
You're not my mother. Dimmy, please.
Please.
What is it?
It's my mother.
Her heart. Can you give her something? She's going to coma. Είσαι πολύ κουρασμένος. Να πας στο κρεβάτι σου. You're not my mother! Don't listen. Why, Timmy?
Why, Timmy? Timmy.
Timmy, please.
Hey, don't score those baskets. Don't do that to me, Timmy.
Meet your next pillow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, that's really great Easter stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that wasn't as bad as I thought, but okay.
Okay. Well, that's I guess the last thing that we needed to do before we sign off. Except I thank you for another great show, and let's go out with some dandy music from the Dandy Warhols. You have the Dandy Warhols teed up?
Yeah, the Dandy Warhols. Never thought you were into such hip music, ChabDog. Good for you.
Yeah, this is a little more hip. This is you probably know this, Abe, right? You listen to them?
It's been a while.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's okay to admit you might not have. Yeah, this is from 2000. Was
This is
posted in
1990s,
2011.
I think, right? Or early 2000s?
Yeah, that's it. It's a Turn of the Millennium band.
Yeah. They're good. They're good. I saw them in person once. They're very good. All right, so long, ChabDog Sports Talk. Have a great week. Thank you, Eric Silve, our producer. Eric the Well-Read did a great job. And Abe Miranda, thank you for calling in. Thank you for having me. So long.
So passe.
say